So risk reward, well, this is funny because it's like full disclosure moment. I work as a contractor now for Risk Reward and I do grant writing. Nice. So I'm like, not the grant version.
I would describe Risk Reward as a festival that invites artists from
all parts of the huge Northwest. I mean, I guess pretty much Northwest and British Columbia. There have been artists that I remember.
Different disciplines to create a new world in 20 minutes.
That's tricky because it's so diverse that you don't really always know what you're going to get.
It's often so full of surprises and beautiful connections.
It'd be safe to say you're not going to get like a C-SPAN soliloquy, but I could be wrong.
Risk Reward is a presenting organization. We present Pacific Northwest artists. Our mission is to champion artists and audiences who push the boundaries of the performing arts. And we do that in a number of ways. One of them is our titular festival, the Risk Reward Festival of New Performance, that happens every summer since 2008.
You get to experience performances from many genres.
It's my opportunity as an artist, as an audience member, to sit there and take in what's being offered and what's being given.
Yeah, it's just always full of surprise.
So I was a company member with Hand to Mouth Theater. That was the birthing, the swamp, primordial swamp from which Risk Reward emerged.
We were performing in a similar festival up in Seattle called Northwest New Works, and we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we were also performing in Portland with these other groups that are also from Portland not performing there? So we stole their idea. We asked them for help. We partnered with them, and it became a thing.
I can't remember what I did, but I remember it was a mashup of two things, and it was early in the festival, and it was at Imago. So then I went and looked it up online, and I found that, it was in 2009, I believe, the second year, Imago Theater, and I had a solo that I was working on, and I had a group piece I was working on, and somehow I was doing the solo, and then the group came in. And I couldn't remember what pieces those were until I looked back, because it's all a big haze.
My first time in the festival was 2010, and it was with a show, my first and only solo performance called My Mind is Like an Open Meadow, which was a show that I made in collaboration with my grandmother, and it was a conversation between the two of us about art, and death, and aging.
2010 was the first year that I performed with Hand to Mouth. We did a portion of a piece called Uncanny Valley. And we made so many different versions of that show that I actually have no memory of what our show was like. But I know because the website told me that it was at Bodyvox that year. And I remember James Mapes running around and all of us wearing Tyvek bodysuits or bunny suits.
The first year I did the festival was 2012, and I did a show called Work with my performance group at the time called the Decepticons, which was Anthony Hudson, Carla Rossi, Mickey Polizato, and Jen Hackworth.
Hello. My name is Where do I look? Hi, I'm Anthony Hudson, and today I am not Carla Rossi, and I like to think of myself as a Risk Reward all-star. Only I think that. I was lucky enough to get to first appear in Risk Reward in 2012 with the Decepticons Work. And then next year, the year after that, in 2013, I was lucky enough to direct Fayonce in her SAS Manifesto.
I got involved with Risk Reward in 2013. So this is my 10th year involved with the festival. I saw the festival in 2012 after I moved to Portland. And I was just stunned at the amount of fun that everybody was having in the audience, the innovative work that the artists were doing. And I immediately went to Jerry and asked how I could be a part of it. And thankfully, he said, you can do whatever you want. And that is how I got involved.
In 2016, I brought a projection and performance piece called OK Odd, which was a stream of consciousness, word association projection piece about the idea of meditation as sensory overload instead of emptying out.
But then in 2016, I decided I wanted to do something new. I wanted to challenge myself to perform without drag and to understand and help people understand and explain to Portland as a whole, why do I play this horrible, racist, white Karen from Lake Oswego named Carla Rossi? I love Christian Bale. So I created Looking for Tiger Lily, but I needed a place to workshop it. I needed a place to get it out there and to jump into this massive dare. What was then a massive dare for myself to perform without drag.
And then again, I did Risk Reward in, I think it was 2017, for my solo Diva Practice solo. I would have the lights come down, and then I'd have everyone turn their lights on their cell phones, and then I would have everyone sing me happy birthday every night, and then I would blow out the candles and they'd turn their lights off to a blackout, which then set up for the next scene, and that was my favorite thing from that show.
And then I did a piece more recently in 2017 that I remember very well. Celebrate! It involved sort of a elaborate set, although it was simplified for the Risk Reward. And then I did it on the boards. So I feel like at that time there was a lot of back and forth between the Northwest New Works Festival and Risk Reward.
In 2019, with a friend of mine, Patrick Blencarn, we brought Asses Masses, which is a video game performance about donkeys, labor, leadership, and revolution that was meant to be played by an audience one person at a time.
Risk Reward has changed me in a multitude of ways. I came from a more traditional theater background, have always worked in marketing and administration, and been on stage a fair amount myself. But having worked with Risk Reward, I have been introduced to a million possibilities. It has absolutely made my life more rich. It's become richer because of the festival.
There was a full-length version of OK Odd that was created after doing it at Risk Reward. As for Asses Masses, we certainly have developed the piece since it was shown. So now it's actually a 7.5, almost 8-hour video game. We're very thankful to Risk Reward for allowing us to test the audience engagement in the first place. And from those seeds, I think we've grown to now the thing that we're touring around the most.
After my Diva Practice solo show in 2017, I got a grant to take that on a research or residency tour, which also had associated performances. And I think Risk Reward kind of gave me some really good documentation and street cred to be able to pitch that to go and do further work in a lot of different places. I think I started doing festivals like Risk Reward when I was moving from nightclub into theater work. Presenting it with Risk Reward allowed me to show the elevation of my drag and my particular point of view in a way that allows reception for other people to see that the value of drag isn't just entertainment in a nightclub, but that there's history and community and a political awareness and a lineage of these different traditions of performance that I think doesn't always get to be seen or it doesn't always get to be taken seriously. And I always felt Risk Reward welcomed me with open arms.
The Risk Reward production led to a lot. I did not know that Looking for Tiger Lily would ultimately take over my life, but like Carla, hello, it has, and I'm very grateful for that.
It's funny because white privilege will never die.
It was actually after the production at Risk Reward that I was able to meet my touring agent and got signed. And he helped me take Looking for Tiger Lily elsewhere. So I took it to Dartmouth. I took it to colleges around the United States. And then from there, I was able to take it international. That's right. She's an international clown now. I'm busy touring the world! As the show continued to spiral out of control and to really get the reception that I never even dreamed of, it helped lead to multiple fellowships, to my very first fellowship from the Native Arts and Cultures Foundation, and then many other from there, I think just based on the power of the show and the initial work sample that we recorded at Risk Reward.
Risk Reward's been huge for me as a career builder. I never thought when running an oddball arts festival that like being a performing arts curator would turn into being a grant maker and just finding ways to get resources to artists and create context around their work to succeed. That for me was just like a passion that I pursued, and it turned out that that was the thing that translated into a lot of other things.
So Risk Reward prepared me for for being a human in the world, right?
I remember coming into a rehearsal one year and there was literally baby powder, just like the entire room, the rafters, the lights, you could see it glowing, and it was a cool effect. But I was like, what the fuck is going on here right now? Like pulled the tech director aside and was like, 95% less baby powder, please. Which they did.
Oh God, Jessica Jobaris and her wild show. And there was a moment in which a person is like stripped down and pushed into the audience, and like our beloved Kay Olsen just like standing there and like holding her naked body in the front row. And it was just it was such a beautiful, crazy, wild moment that I will never forget.
Well, I really remember Kyle Lovin's first show, which was in 2011. And what's so special about that is that's when I met Kyle. And then this past December, I worked as a collaborating director with him on a really big show, which was super fun. It's like a drag bingo. You think it's a bingo, but then there's all of this storytelling that unveils. And he is the most fun to work with because he's such a visual and like a total thinker, one of those total artists. So sometimes I just felt like a yes man, where it's like, yes, brilliant, yes, yes. And it felt so sweet to suddenly realize, oh, we met at Risk Reward. That's really cool.
I remember, for some reason, I remember Shannon Stewart and Donald Mosher collaboration. I'm a dance person, so that's kind of sometimes where my focus tends to go. And Shannon's a beautiful dancer, and Donald's a filmmaker whose work I hadn't known before. And now I follow Donald on Instagram.
Honestly, I'm only showing this footage because the spots have already been treated and faded away under the influence of meds.
That was a very moving and eloquent, personal, body-based kind of trauma, but also, anyway, it was a beautiful work, and I remember that.
I remember this one group, I don't remember where they were from, but they stood in a line, and they all started brushing their teeth, and they one person at a time, they would the toothbrush would pass down each person to the last person, and then they would floss and share the floss going down each person, and it was so disgusting. And I loved it.
My favorite memory from that year, from Risk Reward in 2016, was Milton Lim had a piece that was triggered by audience interaction and by sound. And one day it broke.
I had accidentally attached a pulse generator, which is just sending out a trigger according to a frequency of a knob that I'd set. And I accidentally put that to a sound instead of just the words flashing over and over.
So Milton had no choice but to sit backstage with a computer and manually trigger.
I said, Plan B.
Each strobing scene and screen
over 2,000 times because there were 2,000 slides or so.
Like every millisecond.
And the rest of the team was very supportive, and they watched in a little bit of worry that I had to do everything manually.
So much so that Milton threw out his shoulder and back doing it.
It certainly taught me how to program things better and to stress test things and to be very careful.
So after the show, we all descended on Milton, helping midwives, like doulas. And we didn't have anything to ice his shoulder, so we actually grabbed La Croix cans, and we just applied La Croix cans with pressure to Milton in appreciation for his sacrifices for art.
It was certainly a learning moment, and thanks to Risk Reward for letting me have that. Currently, I am in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I'm here just doing an arts residency in Recife and Sao Paulo, and I just come from Buenos Aires as well in Argentina. And this is all in the pursuit of finding out if there are international collaborators here and also possibly bringing my work back here in the future. Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm touring more work, and if I'm lucky, I'll bring some back to Portland.
Well, since the first time doing the festival, I'm a lot older, but I'm going to be 70 on my next birthday, but I'm still dancing, so I'm thankful for that. I run a nonprofit And I'm working on the culmination of a multi-year project that's a durational solo piece, and I'm trying to get money to do some, to get back to working with people, but finding funding is hard.
I have been so blessed. After all, you can see I'm now vastly wealthy. I have a mantle.
Yes, I'm still performing Looking for Tiger Lily. I'm slowly wrapping up its life. I'm on like the 8th leg of the Cher Can't Say Goodbye tour to this show, but it will be closing finally soon after a couple more engagements. But even still, now I'm working on turning Looking for Tiger Lily into a book. I've already been lucky enough to perform 3 author readings around town and actually out of town. So, Tiger Lily, it has been a wild ride. And let me tell you, I love Risk Reward so much that I work here now. No, well, I mean, kind of. I'm on the board, so that's cool. I get to eat edibles once a year at a retreat.
It is different from 2008, for sure. Let's see, I have a toddler. He's great. He takes up all my time. He's maybe my main artistic practice right now. I am dreaming of being in rehearsal for the theater, but I don't quite know how that works. And my practice really moved from ensemble theater, which I had made for 10 years solid, working with hand to mouth, and it moved into making different kinds of projects. So using the tools and techniques of making ensemble theater in different kinds of ways. So working a lot with people in the public, with kids, with seniors, and I got really into making sound walks. That's what I'm doing now, which is mostly being a parent.
Biggest change for me, I would say, is that I'm a mom now. My daughter is somehow turning 9 this year. And yeah, I'm working on a few projects. One with my friend Ben Morad, which will open in the fall, of this beautiful woman, Laura Lafayette, who lives with schizophrenia, and she wrote a memoir. And so it's based on that. That's really exciting. And then some long-term collaborators. We started a project in 2018 called Slumber Party. And so we're going to be in the festival this year, which is very exciting. We were supposed to make a show in 2020, which didn't happen. And so we had to pivot and pivot again and pivot again and pivot again. And so, we didn't know if we'd end up in a theater again. And this is really exciting because we get to, again, it's terrifying. It's always terrifying to make a new show. And so, to have the support of the festival as we try something new again is, so exciting.
Well, since the Pandemia Lovato, I've become a pretty avid gardener, and I keep a worm farm, which has inspired a new solo about my relationship to sound and the voice and worms. So there you go, which is real. It's the Moon Show. It's about worms and feelings. I keep gardening, but I also have started to dig a bit deeper into the process of writing and political commentary. So I have a new piece about the relationship between historical medieval witchcraft, fascism, and drag queens, which happens to be very contemporary in our political situation right now. And that's what I'm up to.